I once attended a conference on learning, and there was a professor who was describing an experiment that he did with a 5-year-old girl. And the experiment consisted of a pile of sticks of all different lengths. And the assignment was whether the girl was able to put them in the right order of length. 5-year-old. So the experiment started and the girl started working, and after about 20 minutes the professor came to the girl and asked, did you manage to put them in the right order? And the girl said, yes, I did. So what did the girl do? She put the longest one and the shortest one in one row. And that was her answer to the assignment. And she said, well, in the meantime, I used the other sticks to make this nice helicopter. So, the professor continued with his story. But I didn't. I thought, what's going on here? Let's stop this for a minute. What's the assignment? Putting the sticks into a logical order. That was the assignment. And what did the girl do? She did something completely different. But how different is it? Is it just filling the time? No, I don't think so. This girl has really got imagination. She manages to make something really meaningful out of that pile of meaningless sticks. Now this, in short, is my story on education. What is important in education? Logical order, math, arithmetic, language, knowing how to spell the D's and the T's, or creating individuals that are capable of using their talents, using all their brain capacity, doing something meaningful in society. Ta-da! Yeah. That brings me to the subject of talent. Is talent something exceptional? I think that we are all educated with the idea that talent is something exceptional. But obviously it's not. It's everywhere. And I'll show you some example. These pictures are of a children's choir that's in my city, Purmerend, which is an average city of about 100,000 people. And this children's choir exists for more than 30 years now. And it is one of the most successful children's choirs in the world. So how come? Is it because all of the talented children in Holland happen to live in Purmerend? No, of course not. Talent is everywhere. We just don't do enough with it. We don't grow it in our schools. Fortunately, there are some schools in the Netherlands that have the courage to do it in a different way, to put the child in the center of the educational process. One of them is the Sudbury education system. And it is a school where there are no classes, where there is no program, where everybody is learning. It's a kind of community, it's a kind of a village. And what is important, I think, is seeing how the children, how they grow, what's important in their lives after they've left that school. I have an example of that. Simon just left a Sudbury school in Beverwijk. He's 20 years old now, and he was asked to write something about what did he learn at the school. And I made a little wrap-up that's in the middle of the slide. And if you read all those things, he's not talking about math or economics or geography. He's talking more about being a self-confident person, being a well-grown individual, knowing how to make choices. Now that's something peculiar, isn't it? And we call that soft skills. Soft skills is a subject that is now just about 20-25 years a subject of study. Maybe a few of you know the books of Daniel Goleman about emotional intelligence, which he puts aside of cognitive intelligence. And there's a lot to do about that subject. And I think we really need that in our education. It has to do about joining the left and the right side of our brains. Now this girl of 5 years old, she used the right side of her brain. And most scientists don't really like the right side of our brains, because it's holistic, and it's about imagination and about feelings and creativity that are not the subjects that the scientists in our world really like, because they think you cannot measure it. So our educational system is based on the left side of our brains, the things that you can measure. It's about logics, it's about order. But what happens when you combine the two halves? Then you get really creative, full-grown people. I recommend two books on that subject. The yellow one, that's Upside Down Brilliance. It's from Linda Silverman. She has studied especially the highly gifted children. And there is another book of Daniel Pink, A Whole New Mind, who really makes a beautiful sketch of the progress of the attention that the right half of our brain has nowadays. So what it's all about? I think it's about joy of life. And that goes on different places in our lives. Children have the ability to enjoy life as it is. And that happens on different places. It happens at home, in our family. It happens on the street, with your friends. And it also happens on school. The only problem is that in the schools nowadays, we have forgotten that. We have forgotten that it's all one whole. Now, when I think about children and the logics of the growth of children, then I think about these four traits. There are two self-traits and two social traits. The self-traits are, who am I? I want to discover myself. And how do I express myself? The social traits are, I want to be part of the group. Most children do. But there is a fourth one, and I think that's very important. I want to be part of the group, but I also want to make my own contribution to the group. Everybody is unique, isn't it? Though we are social beings, we like to make our own contribution come true. And that's an important drive, because if you don't add that one, you'll get the hooligans. Now, my dreaming, I have a dream. When I think about the living school, the ideal school in my eyes, it consists of several elements. Self-awareness, creativity, socializing, doing projects with the group, and also the last one on the right side, it's just about knowledge. Of course, we need some knowledge, some cognitive knowledge to manage in our complicated lives, of course. But it has got its place. It's not the only thing that's important. So when I address the people working in education, I think that there has to be a great shift from the old system to a new way of looking at learning and education. And I've took 3 traits of the old system, which is the class system. It's based on a very fixed division of children on the criterion of age, which I think is quite stupid, because children are very different, and replace it by an individual learning path. The technology of today gives a lot of opportunities to make, in fact, your own learning portfolio. The second trait is the one-answer approach. If we are on school, we have to answer the questions that the teacher gives us. And it's very reproductive, and it's not really stimulating our creativity. It's a little bit parallel to your story. Everything that is not that one answer, it's rubbish. And the third trait is memorizing. We mistake learning with memorizing. It's not about memorizing. It's about discovery, imagination, and real life. Now I come to my last slide, which is very much the same as this one, but I think it's the most important one. We have to do this. Are there people in the room that are involved with education? Okay. I think we have to make that jump, because sticking somewhere in between doesn't really help. We have to make radical choices. We have to go to the right side. To the right side. That's a nice English word. Eh? The right side. And we have to leave the old system. And that takes courage. That takes wow. That's my story. Thank you very much.